Thank you for watching ECSO News on Blab TV, where facts matter. I'm Amber Southard.
And I'm Allison Morgan. The ECSO needs your help identifying this man. On October 8th, the man in this picture robbed the Advance America located in the 400 block of Navy Boulevard. If you know who he is or his whereabouts, please call Crime Stoppers at 433-STOP or the ECSO at 436-9620.
Do you have prescription medications you need to get rid of? Turn in your unused or expired medication for safe disposal. The National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day aims to provide a safe, convenient, and responsible means of disposing of prescription drugs, while also educating the general public about the potential for abuse of medications. On October 22nd from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., the ECSO will host a Drug Take-Back Day. Check out our website, escambiaso.com, for a list of locations. And Sheriff David Morgan was honored to introduce Elizabeth Smart at West Florida Healthcare's Women's Night Out. The sold-out event gave people a chance to hear Elizabeth Smart's story of her abduction and how she triumphed through the traumatizing ordeal. I got a chance to sit down with Elizabeth to speak with her about the night she was taken.
Have the knife at your neck, don't make a sound, get up and come with me. And the second time that I heard those words, I realized that there really was someone in my bedroom. I remember opening my eyes and seeing a dark figure standing above me, and I could feel something sharp and cold lying across my neck. And then I could feel someone's hands on my arm trying to pull me out of bed. I had never been so scared in my entire life.
It made national news. A 14-year-old girl taken from her bedroom in Utah. 9 months later, she was found 18 miles from her home. She had been held captive and raped by Brian Mitchell and Wanda Barzee. The first time Elizabeth shared her story publicly was during her kidnapper's trial.
I just wanted to go back to being that girl that I was before I was kidnapped. And it took me a long time to realize that I would never be that girl again. I could never go back to what I once considered was normal.
Over the years, other women approached Elizabeth, asking her advice. Eventually, she became comfortable sharing her story. She now travels around the U.S. speaking to large crowds.
I think there's probably a lot that I hope to convey to the audience, certainly for women who have been raped, who have been sexually abused, really abused of any kind. I want them to know they're not alone. I want them to know that they can reclaim their lives, that they can go on, that they can be proud of who they are, and that what's happened to them doesn't have to define them. But I guess I want to take that level even to the next level, because we all have a story. Every single one of us has gone through something or will go through something in our life. And when that point has come or comes, I want people to remember that it's not what happens to us that defines who we are. We decide who we are.
Elizabeth is now married and working for her non-for-profit, the Elizabeth Smart Foundation. But it's raising a 6-month-old daughter, Chloe, that might be her biggest accomplishment.
I hope that she knows that no matter what happens to her, no matter where she goes, no matter what she does in life, there's nothing that will ever make me stop loving her. I want her to know that I love her no matter what, and no matter what happens to her or anything, that I'll always have her corner. I will always have her back. I'll always fight for her, and that sometimes there are people out there who will hurt you and who will try to take advantage of you, and I want her to know that she has my 100% support to do whatever she has to feel safe.
Elizabeth has also worked closely on legislation for the Amber Alert system and the Adam Walsh Act.
These are the missing persons for this week. Brooke Rasmussen is a 17-year-old white female who was reported missing October 14th. She was last seen that morning being dropped off at her school at George Stone. Brooke Rasmussen is a habitual runaway. Our next missing person is Chloe Marie Phillips, 16-year-old white female who was reported missing on October 15th. She was last seen October 14th at approximately 11 p.m. This is the second time she's been reported as a runaway. Both are still believed to be in Escambia County. If you have any information on either Rasmussen or Phillips' whereabouts, we're asking you to call Crime Stoppers at 433-STOP or the Escambia County Sheriff's Office at 436-9620.
ECSO deputies had some good, clean fun at this year's Mud Run. The Sheriff's Office is a proud supporter of the Mud Run, which benefits Pathways for Change. Pathways for Change is a nonprofit organization committed to saving people from destructive lifestyles.
We are actually building a women's program, outpatient treatment. It's called Stepping Stones. So it's outpatient treatment for women. Many have lost their kids due to their drug addiction. So we're reuniting families. And then in the spring, we hope to build a home for female veterans that are homeless coming out of treatment. So that's our goal for the future.
Last month, Sheriff David Morgan presented Pathways for Change with a $7,500 check. The funds come from the ECSO's LET Fund, which is seized drug monies. Here on ECSO News at the Escambia County Sheriff's Office, we work to highlight local nonprofits that the Escambia County Sheriff's Office supports. And today we have Brandy Gomez from Council on Aging of West Florida. And we're excited to have her here because the sheriff recently gave you a $10,000 check. So
yes, amazing.
We're excited to learn where that money is going and learn a little more about Council on Aging. Can you tell us a little about your organization?
Thank you for having me. Council on Aging is a 501c3 not-for-profit. We serve Escambia and Santa Rosa counties, which a lot of people don't know. At the end of the day, our mission is to keep seniors in their home for as long as possible. So we want to deter nursing home placement. We have in-home programs and services such as Meals on Wheels. We do case management. We also have an adult day health care center. So whatever we can do to serve the caregiver as well as their loved one, that's what we're all about.
Wonderful. And you have a couple events coming up, at least one in the near future.
Yes, we are very busy this time of year. We have our annual fundraiser, the 2016 Rat Pack Reunion. It's our 6th year, which is really exciting that we've been able to sustain an event that long. But ultimately, it honors 4 outstanding individuals in the community for their accomplishments and contributions. And the sheriff is one of the honorees this year. So yes, we're very excited to have him and honor him and roast and toast him in a light way.
Yes, we all are excited as well as he is. One of your main programs is Meals on Wheels. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It's our, most people resonate with Meals on Wheels. They've heard about it before. But Meals on Wheels is a program that goes to inbound seniors. We deliver meals once a week to those, and each meal they're frozen. They come and they have 1/3 of the daily nutrition value that a senior or anyone's supposed to have, really, and it makes it easier for those that are unable to get out or they just simply aren't eating what they should be eating. So that's a great program.
And if someone wanted to get involved with volunteering, maybe they didn't have the funds to donate to the Council on Aging, but they wanted to get involved and donate their time, how can they do that?
We are always in need of volunteers at a nonprofit. There are various ways you can do that. You can be a Meals on Wheels driver where you deliver once a week. We also have those that come to our Adult Day Health Care Center, the retreat, and they come and they play games with those, or they play bingo, or we also have some that go out to our senior dining sites. Or if that's really not your thing and you want more simple volunteer hours, we have ways that you can come in and you can do administrative tasks. And all of us directors always need help with that, whether it's stuffing envelopes for mailings or making copies. Any amount of volunteering is helpful.
That's great. Is there a session that they can attend or a phone number that they can call for?
Yes, we have a session once a month. Our next one will be in November. You can call us at our main office, though, at 432-1475, and we can answer any of those questions and tell you a little bit more about it.
Great. And how many seniors do you serve?
We serve roughly 2,200. That's
Wow.
both in Escambia and Santa Rosa, but 2,200.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yes. We keep very busy at the Council on Aging.
I bet. All right, well, thank you so much. Is there another place that they can find information, maybe a website or a Facebook page?
Yes, I always tell people to go to our Facebook page. We always post really great pictures of our clients and participants, and then that you just find at Council on Aging West Florida, or you can give us a call directly at 432-1475, or Google Council on Aging, and you'll be able to find us.
Great, and we'll put all this information on our Facebook page as well as our website. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Congrats, grads! The Citizen Law Enforcement Academy class number 38 graduated Thursday. For the past 11 weeks, the group learned about many departments in the ECSO, including patrol, crime scene, SWAT, K-9, and our mounted unit. The Academy is presented twice a year with the new classes starting on the first Thursdays in March and August. To learn more about the CLIA classes, visit EscambiaESO.com.
The ECSO School Resource Officer Unit was awarded with their unit citation pins from Sheriff David Morgan earlier this month. Senior Commander Dale Tharp received the Legion of Merit Award. Commander Tharp developed the SRO unit in 1986. ECSO deputies assigned to the SRO unit are responsible for more than 2,000 calls of service a year. Along with their daily duties, our officers spend countless hours mentoring and tutoring as well as coaching students. Earlier this year, the unit was named the best SRO unit in the state by the Florida Sheriff's Association. Deputy Ron Gill was also awarded Best School Resource Officer by the FSA.
Here at the Escambia County Sheriff's Office, we have an array of jobs, and we've got a few open right now in our dispatch section. So we decided to bring Matt Pike, the supervisor down in dispatch, on to kind of talk about what dispatch is. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. So can you explain to us exactly what dispatch is?
Dispatch is basically when you call 911 and we pick up the phone and we're the first point of contact for the citizens in their immediate emergency that they have. And then we'll send the officers to them and get the appropriate resources to them.
Can you talk about your background in dispatch and how you got started in dispatch?
Well, I started out as a dispatch trainee many years ago. After I was in training, I became a dispatcher and then a trainer and an assistant supervisor and then a supervisor.
So there is room for growth for someone who starts out with an entry-level position in dispatch.
Yes.
And right now, what jobs do we have available?
We have a dispatcher trainee, which is for somebody that does not have any experience at all. And we also have dispatcher, which is for somebody who's done the job or done it elsewhere and has experience.
Coming on as a trainee, it's a paid position, but what can somebody expect to do?
A trainee can expect to learn a lot of different things in a very short amount of time. Our training program is generally about 6 months long, and there's a lot of different multitasking skills that you have to pick up during that time.
Are there any resources out there where someone who might think they are interested in a position would be able to get some more information on the position or how it works, how the job?
Yes, we do have some on our website that you can look at. We also have a short video on our application center that gives a brief description of what it's like, a general idea of what it's like in dispatch day.
Okay, and that's going to be at EscambiaESO.com underneath our jobs tab. You can go check that out. That video will tell you a little bit more about dispatch. We watched it the other day. It was pretty interesting. But talk about, in dispatch, you kind of have to be able to talk to people in different situations. I mean, they are sometimes calling you panicking, and the first thing you've got to do is to stay calm, but also keep them calm.
We do. We have to keep the situations calm. When they call in, they can be very panicked. The calmer we stay, the calmer that they stay. If we get excited, then the caller generally tends to get excited. So, and your range of emergencies goes from not much of an emergency to somebody who's in a life or death crisis. So it all depends.
And you've said that one of the best things about working in dispatch is that it's something different every day, and you all are very close down there. Can you talk about the environment in the dispatch center?
Yes, you have to work with each other. A lot of information that you get about calls and your work depends on each other, so you have to talk to each other a lot.
Okay. And then we were kind of talking about how it can be stressful and you have to stay kind of calm, cool, and collected, but there are very rewarding things about the job once you find out that you've actually helped somebody get through their time.
It can be very rewarding to talk to somebody and help them through a crisis and know that they got the help that they needed and everything turned out to be okay is very rewarding, and that changes every single day because every day you get something that's totally different. No 2 days are the same.
Wonderful. And then you guys work, what kind of shifts do you work?
We work 12-hour shifts. We have a day shift and a midnight shift, so they're both 7 to 7.
Somebody that's watching this and might be interested in applying for one of these positions, what's something that you think they should know?
They need to be able to do lots of different things all at one time, to be able to multitask, talk to different people and use different equipment all at the same time. There's a very good video on our website that gives a general idea of a day in the life of a dispatcher. It's not our video, but it gives a good description of what it can be like to do that job.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And again, if you're interested in either one of these positions, you can visit our website, and that's going to be escambiaso.com. Click on that jobs tab. Please watch the video Matt talked about so you can get an idea of what the day in the life of a dispatcher is. But they truly are what we call the guardian angels for our deputies and for you whenever you need 911. So again, follow us at escambiaso.com.
I'm Escambia County Sheriff David Morgan, and thank you for watching Ask the Sheriff. This is your chance to ask me any questions you want answered about the ECSO. Our team hits the streets again, and here are some of the questions you asked.
Could you explain to me what the Stand Your Ground law is?
The Stand Your Ground law basically is the next generation of what used to be referred to as the Castle Doctrine. And in that doctrine, it was much more restrictive and specific in that if you felt your life was in danger, your family was in danger, business, etc., that you had a statutory requirement to continue to retreat till you could retreat no more before you could basically respond to the threat, up to and including the use of deadly force. That law then was superseded by what we now refer to as the Stand Your Ground law, which was kind of marshaled through the Florida Senate and the House by, I believe now deceased, Senator Peden, who was a physician who practiced in the Crestview area, as I recall. That doctrine is much more open in that you now have no requirement to retreat. Now, I can't get into specifics on this question. It comes up quite a little bit, by the way, in public forums, and as well as your question that we're currently, answering on, Ask the Sheriff. And the reason being is this: number one, so many of the questions are what if. Well, what if this circumstance happened, or what if that circumstance happened? And that clearly indicates that every situation is fluid and specific in and of itself. So for me to answer the question, no one could really predict what the dynamics are in that very moment that you felt threatened, or your life was threatened, or your spouse or your significant other or a child, etc. And so it's almost impossible to answer that, not just from that perspective, but also from the legal perspective, because we always caution everyone that people always bring up the Stand Your Ground law when they have to use deadly force, what they believe to be in defense of their lives or the life of another. But you need to understand that even if you invoke that particular statute, that it stands your ground, I believe that I was standing my ground, you still will have to go through the criminal justice system, meaning it will go through the review not only at the sheriff's office, we'll take the appropriate reports and interview people, but it will also be reviewed by the state attorney's office to assure that your actions were in compliance with the Stand Your Ground law. So again, that's a legal question that I am not qualified to answer, and I'm not actually authorized to answer that by law, because that would require a specific answer to a specific instance and how you applied the use of deadly force. And so therefore, I think that should be deferred to a state attorney's office, or if you have a private attorney, to ask that. And I think you're going to get probably a very similar answer from them that you would get from me, in that I would have to take every instance specifically to even attempt to address it. And in that case, I would refer it either to our staff attorneys, or more appropriately to the state attorney's office for them to answer that, because ultimately they'll make the decision as to whether or not your actions were within the law and were legal at the time that you did them. So, I know that's kind of a roundabout way to address your issue, but that's really the process that we would go through.
What area do you feel like the Escambia County Sheriff's Office is lacking in, and how do you believe that we can improve that?
Anthony Turner asked about what at the Escambia County Sheriff's Office is lacking, and what basically can we do to correct it. Like all law enforcement agencies, Anthony, throughout the United States, because of some national trends, over the last couple of years, specifically starting with Ferguson, Missouri, we are having a difficult time recruiting and retaining qualified people in law enforcement. And again, that's not unique to Escambia County. Recruiting is down 80% throughout the United States. Young men and young women are not wanting to make law enforcement a career, and in all fairness, careers in general. When I was growing up, the average person changed jobs 3 to 5 times. The average person now changes jobs 7 to 12 times throughout their lifetime. So again, the whole mindset on what's a career and not a career has changed dynamically, societally and culturally throughout the United States. That ripple effect causes us a tremendous amount of problems. So if you were to ask what's one of the largest problems that and probably the most serious problem, to be quite honest with you, within law enforcement itself that I'm facing is the recruitment and retention of qualified people. We have a very difficult time keeping pace with civilian industry, especially in the areas of computer crime. In that cyber area, starting jobs can be 60 to 75,000 a year. We get a computer individual here who's computer literate. We send them to all the schools and spend tens of thousands of dollars getting them trained up, and then many times we lose them to a state or federal agency, or more recently to many of our civilian counterparts. Navy Federal is an excellent example. And so again, people will go where the largest salary is. And so we're in a continual educational cycle, recruiting and retaining or attempting to retain qualified people, especially in the more technical areas. So, law enforcement as a whole across the board, whether it's domestic violence, drug enforcement, DUI, etc. Those are kind of part and parcel to things that we do that have ebbs and flows and peaks and valleys. We're very qualified and capable to handle those things, but we must have qualified people. And so I can't respond to the needs of the citizens if I don't have a very qualified and trained force of law enforcement professionals. So that's an issue that we're all working. This has been an item at many of the Florida Sheriff's conferences. How do we combat that coming into the next decade to make sure that we can offset that and again recruit the highest caliber people to law enforcement? Because this position is one of trust within our community. It requires a higher standard of character and integrity than the average citizen. Why? Because as I remind people daily, when we have law enforcement contact, and most citizens don't ever consider this, in the least situation, my deputies are empowered to take your freedom from you in an arrest situation. You're placed in handcuffs and placed in a car, and you can be incarcerated. In the extreme situation, they're empowered to take your life in a life or death situation. So, that responsibility is a tremendous responsibility that people take on when they go into a career in law enforcement, and most people don't give pause to think about that. We in law enforcement, especially those of us that are the heads of agencies, think about that daily. And so that's probably my most challenging thing at the Sheriff's Office is that recruitment and retention.
Why is the Office of Sheriff an elected office?
Celine, there are 67 counties in Florida. There is in fact one sheriff which is appointed, and that's in Miami-Dade. When they did their consolidated government, the county commission down there voted on a supermajority to end the elected office of sheriff, and when that last elected officer served their term, they appointed the next sheriff through the Board of County Commissioners because they're a consolidated group. We only have 2 consolidated counties in Florida. The next one is Duval County. Now, they still elect their sheriff. The reason why the sheriff is an elected position is because it's in the Florida State Constitution. Statutorily, each county is required to have a sheriff, and they are the chief law enforcement officer for the county. And so therefore they are an elected position. Only a consolidated county could vote to appoint a sheriff. Many people don't know that my jurisdiction and any sheriff in the state of Florida, our jurisdiction is throughout the county. I contrast that with the Pensacola Police Department. Their jurisdiction ends at the city limits. Now, we as a courtesy every year commission a certain number of Pensacola police officers at the request of the Chief of Police, David Alexander, at the current time, and that allows them to go outside the city to serve things like warrants or to take arrests and make arrests outside the city. We do that because a crime may have been committed in the city of Pensacola by a resident of Escambia County. So their jurisdiction is limited to the city limits. So your sheriffs are the chief constitutional officer in their counties throughout the state. And again, it's in the Constitution, it's in the Florida state statutes. It's traditionally been such because the citizens want to elect or unelect particular sheriffs. And it's a very high position. Many times it's been requested throughout the years for not only the sheriff's office but other officers, should they be appointed or should they be elected. The citizens have resoundingly said that this office of sheriff should be an elected position. The one exception again being Miami-Dade County, where they appoint their sheriff, and because they're a consolidated government.
People my age have Instagram, so why don't you have an Instagram?
Allison asked, do we have Instagram at the Escambia County Sheriff's Office? Allison, I'm sorry to report at this time, no, we do not. But like all social media platforms, we are looking at bringing Instagram to the Escambia County Sheriff's Office. That's part of our continuing and outgoing outreach to our community to stay within the social media realm. Why? Because it reaches a significant number of young people, and any agency that is robust and as forward-leaning as we are at the Escambia County Sheriff's Office will most assuredly be looking at Instagram soon. Thank you for your question. Remember, you can also email your questions and ask the sheriff at escambiaso.com. We'll be back next week right here on Blab TV Tuesday night at 8 p.m.